Hello, my name is Laura. I have an interesting story to share with you today. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago in an older home. It was built in the early 1900s. And growing up, we would always hear noises around the house, especially on the second floor. People walking around or someone going up and down the stairs. My dad would always brush it off and say, "Oh, it's the house just settling. It's an older house. And there's a spring that runs underneath one corner of it." So he'd say, "Oh, it's just from Mother Earth, and nature's just taking its course." We only believed that for so long though, because there was a time when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. I shared a room with my sister Kathy on the second floor of the house. And then my other 2 sisters were in the other room on the second floor of the house. And one night, it was dark. Even though we had nightlights in our rooms, we could see a little bit, but it was dark and it was summer. And my sister Kathy woke me up and she kept saying, "Laura, Laura, Laura, do you hear that? Do you hear it?" I said, "Hear what?" And I stopped and I listened. And sure enough, I heard footsteps as if someone was coming up the stairs. And then you could hear the footsteps round the corner into the hallway and walking down the hallway. And I said, maybe it's Mom or Dad. So I don't remember if it was me or if it was my sister. One of us yelled out, "Mom, Dad." There was no reply. And we still heard the footsteps. The footsteps finally stopped at the door to our room. We didn't see anything. And both of us were getting scared. I was starting to cry. My sister Kathy was starting to cry. And then we heard the footsteps continue into the bedroom. At the foot of our beds, it stopped right in between our 2 beds. Kathy started screaming. I started bawling really loud. I might have even peed on myself that night. I don't recall. But my parents came running upstairs to find out what was the matter. And my sister Kathy ended up having a nosebleed. And Mom and Dad had to clean her up. And we told them about what we heard. And my dad said, "Oh, it's your imaginations. Just go back to sleep." Okay. It was hard to sleep upstairs at the second floor of the house after that. Any part of the house actually was hard to be in sometimes, because when you were alone or it was just really quiet and you knew where everyone was. Yes, I came from a large family and there were people around all the time, but there were specific times when all my siblings would be in the living room with me because I might be babysitting them or my sister Kathy, and my parents were gone, and we would hear footsteps up on the second floor. My mom told us many times of how she would hear people walking upstairs. So as an adult, once I moved out of my parents' house, when I would go and stay at my parents' house, I refused to sleep up on the second floor. I would sleep on the couch in the living room on the first floor because it just had a really strong energy on the second floor, and it was scary. My husband, once he learned how to do clearing work, I asked him to check my parents' house. Of course, I got my parents' permission first, but I asked him to check, and he did, and he found out that there were 7 ghosts living in the house. Okay, that explains a lot. Ghosts are lost souls. So what my husband did in the clearing work was help them to cross over and go where they needed to go. So now my parents' home is sound-free, if you will. No more strange footsteps, no more walking up the stairs or anything. And the house feels different. My mom was telling me that a lot of people were always afraid to go up to the second floor of the house because you just feel something was not right. But lately, she said, everyone who has been over to their home has talked about how warm and welcoming it is. This has been maybe for a couple of years now, she's been saying this. And people just want to come hang out and talk with Mom and just visit. So I think it's a good thing, of course. The house is ghost-free and no more noise. We even had some here in our house that, Ken was able to help guide and cross over. But it can be scary when you hear noises that you can't explain, or you think, oh, it's just the house or the building settling. Well, maybe it's not. So if you have had those experiences and you think there might be something to it, send us a message, let us know what's happening, and Ken could always check it out for you. I hope you enjoyed this story. There are more to come.